The basis of what a stills photographer should do is really is shoot the script, tell the story in still photographs. Try and represent what is a moving image. Try and take an element from that in a still photograph which says what that scene, what that person, what that character is about.
There is a unwritten brief, as it were, really, which is obviously the first requirement of any professional, which is to produce technically correct, technically perfect, well-exposed, well-composed images. But then there is also, and it starts from there, really. There is sort of guidelines that are published, as subsequently I've found out over the years, by certain TV companies and film production companies, which do ask for things like costume shots, pictures of the actors relating to each other, various images, and that is actually a published outline of what you're asked to produce as a brief, as the stills photographer as such. And as far as individual projects are concerned, they do sometimes read the script and give you some kind of indication of key scenes or key images they particularly want. But a lot of the time, it's a pretty open brief, and it's left to your interpretation, and it's based on the fact that you've presented a portfolio which reflects the quality of work and the type of images that you can produce. And obviously that is quintessential when your images have actually made the key marketing posters or the key marketing images or the one sheets and so on. So there is a published brief or some guidelines to some extent, but as far as the brief specifically is concerned, then it is down to the interpretation and the individual skill of the photographer.
In the old days, basically you just had to produce work that would be used for the domestic release, i.e. America, and then the foreign release, which would be international with the rest of the world. And after that, no one particularly cared about this stuff anymore. It was literally collecting dust. Then obviously once video came in, you would have to produce work that goes in the video, but now of course it's snowballed into so many other ancillary markets, depending on what kind of project you're doing. If it's a high merchandising led film such as Harry Potter or a Batman or Narnia, one of these things, and of course the demand for material is so much greater than it was before. And also if it's a heavily visual effects loaded piece as well, they need, everything has to be photographed 360 degrees and flat light. I mean, it's actually a job for another photographer. On those kind of jobs, I generally have another photographer working with me to do this sort of work. So it's actually become much more of a department than it was in the old days when you used to show up with a couple of knicker mats and a Gossen Luna 6 Pro, and off you go. Now you need a truckload of equipment, and you have to really be on top of a lot of different areas.
A unit publicist is the conduit between the production and the outside world. So you deal constantly with outside world and the problems that they have and the things that they want from the production. And similarly, you also are the direct link to the studio. So you work with the studio publicists who eventually inherit the work that you do during the film.
The old days, even before I started, the unit publicist would sort of be the still photographer's boss, and we quickly stopped that. And they would come up with almost a shot list of with this scene now we need to do this shot and that shot and this shot, which it doesn't happen now. But we work as a coordinated team, and they're very good at getting the information from generally the American parent company as to what they need and stuff like that. For some reason the publicist is generally the first place of call, and then it gets fed down to me. And of course, if you're working on location, there's lots of other requests at the unit publicist. They may have the local mayor wants his picture taken with Harry Potter, or all that kind of stuff, which will the unit publicist is the coordinator of all of that material, just so that otherwise it becomes messy, because you get a producer's assistant saying this, and then someone comes straight to me, and no one knows really who's done it or not done it. So when you have a good unit publicist, they're worth their weight in gold.
It's very important that it's a close relationship, because we kind of watch out for each other, and usually they are very experienced people, so they know what's required. I mean, when I go through the contact sheets when they come in after the stills have been taken, I might see that something was missing. There's a few things that aren't there, and then I would have a chat to them about it and sort of say, I think we could do with a bit more of this or a bit less of that. And that's really how it works. I haven't for a long time worked with anyone who wasn't experienced, so they do know what they're doing and what's expected, you know. And then we go through all the stills, and they make a selection and I make a selection, and usually it's pretty much the same, which is always good, because you know you've got your eye in. It's important to realise as a publicity department that the most important thing is getting the film made, and basically for you to do what you need, you actually have to stop them getting the film made. But there are, as we all know, quite a lot of breaks between setups and so on, when you could maybe have an actor for 20 minutes. And if you've got a relationship of some trust with the assistant directors and with the director, and they are helping you to achieve your aim, then they will let you take an actor away to do an interview and so on, when there are appropriate breaks. I mean, it's all to do with experience and trust, and they know that they can trust you not to just disappear with actors without their permission, you know.
Because of the mercurial nature of human beings, it's different on every job. I mean, this is one of the interesting things about it, is that some actors can be difficult, some can be easy, some crew members can be difficult, you know, but I mean, ultimately, you've got to get on with everyone, and you've got to manipulate them as best you can, so you get them to do what you need them to do.
There are no hard and fast rules, to be perfectly honest. Some actors prefer to be photographed during the takes because they feel that they have the confidence of their hair, makeup, costume, and that their performance will be animated. And of course, yes, they do want to be well represented in stills. So some actors absolutely do feel that it is better to be photographed during the take itself, using a blimp, a soundproof box. Other actors only prefer to be photographed during rehearsals because they find a second lens, photographing close to the movie lens, as a distraction. Actors
have become more afraid, more nervous, more conscious of photographers. And I think this came about with the paparazzi photographers, you know, intruding on their sort of private lives. So now it takes a little longer to sort of get the trust of an actor you're working with, because for the last few months, they've been plagued with people chasing them around the streets and whatever. So there's a sort of wariness of the camera. Something that's happened more and more recently is this sort of what they call actors' approval thing, where their agents negotiate something like a 50%, 40% kills right on singles, shots of them in the movie. And this is again where I think the publicist comes in.
This business of stills approval is something that has become a major thing that agents kind of and the producers give away. And I do wish they wouldn't, because it's the bane of our lives. Very few people can be at all objective when they see hundreds and thousands of pictures of themselves. Some actors, those that are more comfortable in their skin, say, don't worry, you do it, you deal with it, you're not going to publish a bad picture of me. That happened with, say, somebody like Morgan Freeman. He's got enough confidence to know that every picture of him is pretty amazing, and indeed you're not going to use a bad picture. Other actors will sit on contact sheets for weeks, and trying to get them back from them is a nightmare. With some of them, you work out a way of it operating. But I think by and large, actors are not particularly good at looking at pictures of themselves.
It does start to get a bit of a problem when, say, you've got 4 actors in the same picture and they've all got kill rights, and it can be a bit of a political nightmare because, you know, some actor may not get on with another actor and he knows this is that actor's, he looks great in that picture, but he'll kill the picture, you know, and all that kind of thing goes on. But generally speaking, this is where the publicist quite often comes into play, that they'll realise that there is only one great picture where people haven't got their tongues hanging out and eyes closed over there, and she'll go, or he will go around on their hands and knees to the actors and just says, can you please, if there's one holdout, can you please just let us have this one?
So one story of an actor I worked with, a well-known actor, I'm not going to mention any names, but we did a movie and it was about 10 weeks shooting. He was the main star of the movie. He actually hated every single picture I'd shot of him. Everybody else thought they were great. The studio loved them, the publicity people, everybody thought it wonderful. He didn't like a single one, and he wasn't unpleasant about it because he said, "Dave, I think we can, yeah, let's try something else. We'll do something else, and you know, just give me a nod when you're going to shoot a picture, so I'm really aware of it." Yeah, and so we tried all this, and we did setups, and he still didn't like anything. You know, it's amazing. And we're still there, like on the last day of shooting. And we're looking through other pictures, and we'd just done another session somewhere else, and he was looking at these. And he finally said, "David," he said to me, he said, "These are really good pictures," he says. "But," he said, "I don't think I look like I think I do." and that summed up the whole thing.
I mean, the sad thing is when you think of the amount of stills that get taken on a movie, thousands and thousands of pictures, and it comes down to, even on a very big film, maybe 150 that get used. It's tragic, I think.